Welcome back to the Abom79 Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Adam Booth.
And your co-host, Abby Booth.
Coming at you from the home shop location this episode. This is going to be a little bit different episode. I think it's going to be more of like a standard video, but we're doing this as a podcast. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we're here in the home shop for this episode is because we want to capture some kind of shop tour video of the home shop before we start moving things. We've got a lot of cleanup to do. I have a lot of cleanup to do. And we're getting ready to start merging our two shops together. So I have things that are in this shop that are going to go to our new shop. And I have things in here that I plan on putting up for sale as well. And we haven't got to that point where we're trying to separate the things that we're selling yet, but that's something that we're going to be working on very soon, because I've got to come in here and I've got to go through just all the stuff. And people that have watched the channel for years knows that we've got a lot of toolboxes, I've got a lot of shelves, I've got a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff that I've collected over years. I have a lot of stuff that have been donated over the years. I have a lot of surplus tooling, and I just have a lot of things that I need a purge. I need to move out things that I'm not using, things that I really don't need anymore, because a lot of the tools that we have and we use, we already have those tools, we use it. So there's a lot of things that are multiples that I have that I no longer need, so at one point in my career, like many people, I went through this phase where I was just collecting every single thing that I could, everything that I found. If I went to the flea market, if we went to an antique store, if we went to a garage sale, and I saw something interesting that was related to machinist tooling or anything like that, I would buy it and bring it home and fill the shop up.
Here, take this entire box. Just go ahead. And you were like, yes, please.
Now we have entire boxes that I want to do the same. Here you go.
Here you go.
Just
these.
Make an offer and take this whole box of stuff and get it out of here. But yeah, we all go through these collection periods in our lifetime, and I've kind of reached a point in my life where I'm less interested in collecting a lot of old tools, because I have what I need now. And we're honestly trying to make an effort to reduce our belongings by like half. So we moved to another home location, which is going to be more of a temporary basis, because we ultimately want to build a home on our land, and hopefully we're going to make that happen pretty soon.
Home and shop. The
home and shop, we still want to make that as a home and shop under one roof there, barndominian, if you will. That's our dream, that's our goal, that's what we're trying to reach there. But in the meantime, I got to clean up, I got to get rid of some stuff, and not only do I need to, I want to as well. So saying that, we thought it might be a good idea to kind of have a podcast / shop tour through here and kind of do one last tour of the shop. Maybe talk about the machines that I have in here, talk a little bit about the history of the machines, and maybe some of the other stuff that we see as we walk around. What do you think?
I think it's going to be great. Every time we're in here, I always end up hearing something from you that I've never heard before.
Really?
And I'm always saying to him, you got to say that on the we got to talk about that on the podcast. So I'm hoping that this is organic. Like we don't have anything planned. We're just going to kind of wing it. So
yeah, exactly. Which is how we like our content. We like it to be off the cuff and be natural, organic, and just be real about it. We try to be as realistic as we can with all of our content, and really just try to share this journey with you and show what might be interesting to the viewers out there.
This is absolutely bittersweet for both of us, and we're not gonna focus on that or talk about that. We're just gonna move forward because we're really, really, really excited to get a lot of these things into the new shop.
Yeah.
Because it's really gonna fill out that shop in the right way. And
I'm excited to see that.
Me too. So there's just a lot of things that we want to do, but this stuff has to get in there for us to do that. So
yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and I second what Abby said. I don't want this to be sad, doom and gloom, because we're moving away from, our original shop where the YouTube content originated from. Right here, same camera location right here. This is where it all started. Journey that
This is where you made all your videos.
Right here. That's why this wood is so dark right here, because this is where I used to sit, put my arms. I had my computer sitting right here. I did all my video editing for years.
But that's why this is coming.
Yeah. The Workbench is definitely going to the new shop, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff. I built this Workbench when I was 18 years old. I knew nothing about woodwork, but I knew enough how to cut wood and nail stuff together and make it functional and make it work, and it's worked really well.
It's beautiful.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite things in the shop.
Yeah. So maybe we can start off also by kind of like recapping the origins of this building, this shop, and how the YouTube thing started right here. I know I've talked about that a lot, but I might have some information that might be interesting to hear about this location here. So let me just kind of start there.
Go.
So in case you were not aware, this property that we own, where we live and where the shop is, has been in my family for generations, all right? I'd say 3 generations now. My mom and dad bought this property from some aunts and uncles on my Booth side of the family years and years ago. And the house that we've lived in forever, that I've lived in, I've pretty much lived in this location almost my entire life. For either 8 or 9 years of my life, I lived with my parents in Pace, which is the next town over. That's where I went to high school. And in the year 2000, me and my sister moved back to our original house here and rented it from our mom and dad. A few years later down the road, I ended up buying it from my mom and dad, okay? So I have been back in this location since the year 2000. So I've been back here for 25 years, going on 26 years now.
And
right?
they moved the house here.
Yeah.
So it belonged to your family before they moved it here.
The mom and dad, the house that we live in, that we did live in, that I've lived in forever, they bought that house and had it moved here to this lot. Now, they didn't move it very far. There's an intersection out there, outside of the property there, and there's a road next to the house now. That road used to not be there. It was our street here. It was a dead-end street. This was at the end of the dead-end street. And then they built this major highway going north and south right here. And that house used to sit out there where that intersection is, where they built the road. So they were able to purchase that house. I have no idea what they paid for it, but I imagine it wasn't a lot of money. And then they had a home mover, and I don't remember who that was, but Mom, I remember she telling me they hired so-and-so, and he moved the house here, and then they had to do a little bit of work on it. They had brick masons come in and put brick around it, and they actually added on to the house. Dad added 2 rooms to that house. It used to be sort of L-shaped. Now it's a full, like, rectangular size house. So that was in the early 70s whenever they did that. I believe, 71, 72-ish, somewhere around that time frame, around the same time that Granddad built the shop, which was right down the street here. So I'm trying to remember where I was at on the story. So I've been living here for another 25 years, and back around 2000, it was in 2012, is when my dad was ready to retire. He was ready to get out of the machine shop. He was tired. He was done with it. He just wanted to retire. And so he wanted to sell off some of the equipment in the shop, which we did, the big stuff, the bigger machines, the big lathe, the horizontal bore mill. We had a big milling machine, and we had a couple of other older milling machines that we ended up selling as well. So we did that back in around the 2012 time period. And since I have this property and this building right here, I wanted to go ahead and set it up as a machine shop. But not only did I was kind of, the gears were turning, like, I wonder if I can set up a machine shop, using some of the stuff that Dad's already got. So Dad actually brought the idea up too, that he wanted me to bring some of the machines and tools down here and set it up in this building and be able to work for myself and, be able to be able to do machine work for myself and provide for myself here in this shop. So he allowed me to, he give me some of the machines and the tools, the welding machines, some of the tables and stuff for me to keep down here. And then he sold off the bigger, more valuable things. And that, so I did that in the year 2012. So we had it was kind of a big year on downsizing the original shop, moving a bunch of that stuff out. I think some of the stuff actually happened in 2011. Some of the machines got moved out and sold in 2011. 12 is when I started moving stuff down here.
Are there any of those machines that you wish you had still?
I wish I had the horizontal boring mill.
Yeah.
And that was in a lot of my videos in the early years of the channel. Dad had actually sold that machine to Motion where I was working. They bought it. And so I got to continue using it even after Dad sold it. And I had offered to buy that mill back from them once I had left. And at one point I asked them about that. I'm like, hey, if you ever want to get rid of that mill, I'd still like to buy it. Oh, we sent that over to one of the other branches. So they sold it and got rid of it. They no longer have it. So that machine's gone.
Yeah.
It was such a great machine and did so many different things. It was a true like universal type machine. So I did a lot of different work with that mill and I enjoyed it. And I know the viewers enjoyed seeing that too. Yeah. But I was also going to mention that this building was built, Mom and Dad had this building built back in 1986. I think it was the latter part of 1986. They had this put up because they wanted to do woodworking, which they did. So this building was originally erected, put up, and Mom and Dad had a bunch of bandsaws, woodworking equipment in here. Back in the 80s, I think the early mid 80s, country crafts were really, really popular. And they jumped on the bandwagon, and it was another way for them to make money. Yeah. It was another business. So Dad ran the machine shop. Mom came out here and did a lot of woodworking. And then I remember in the evenings, Dad would come home and they would be out here working in the shop, making all kind of stuff. Like they did a lot of shelves, like wooden shelves you mount on the wall, ducks and you know, figurines and stuff with flowers and stuff really in popular. It. Yeah, so that's what they did out here in this building from 1986 until we moved to Pace, which was in 1992 is when we moved over there.
I wish we had I mean, I know we have a few things, but I wish we had other things like some shelves. The
stuff that they had made. We have one thing in the house still that I think my sister had found just randomly out antiquing, that it was something that Mom and Dad made. So she bought it because it was original, you know, so, and we've got that in the house. But I thought it was interesting, and the other really interesting thing that I remember about this building that Dad told me was that it cost them, I believe it was $7,000 to build this building turnkey. That's the concrete, that's the blocks, the roof, the doors, everything. $7,000 for a block building. This would probably cost, I don't even know, but probably $30,000, $40,000 for the same building, if I had to guess.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's out of sight. Because I remember when I put up the metal garage outside there, I had talked to a local business here that does garages and sheds. And I think it was like the most basic building, which was like a 20 by 25 something, like a double car garage basically, that stick built. They said it starts at $20,000 for that. That was for the basic.
If I could pick up this shop and like put it on our property, I would.
Yeah, I would too.
I mean,
well, we've always said that we wish this property was not located where it was.
Yeah.
If this property was away from all the highways and all the congestion and the riffraff outside,
a long time ago,
we would have had the entire house remodeled and improved the property. But I've lived here so long, and what I want people to try to understand is that the area in which our property is here, it's kind of gone downhill. All right, and when I say downhill, is the neighborhood, the neighbors, like it's changed. Yeah. People don't take care of their neighbor, the neighbors don't care of their yards now, and there's a lot of homelessness around here, and they're all around, okay? And luckily that hasn't been a big issue for us, but every time we walk outside, you know, there's people that we don't know walking up and down the street that want to talk to you, that want to ask you things, you know. And on top of that, you have a busy highway that's gotten more and more busy every single year. It's crazy how much traffic is in this town now.
Yeah.
Because I remember when it wasn't this bad, but now we have traffic everywhere. You guys have heard sirens the entire life of the channel. It's nonstop. We need peace and quiet. We need peace in our life. So that's why we bought our property. That it was for Abby and I both. It was new to us, so we bought this property, and we want to build our house out there. So as I said in one of the earlier episodes, I'm ready to close the book on this shop. I know that makes people sad because this is the original shop location. We have a lot of history here, and people ultimately really love the well-worn-in, grungy shops. And I get that, and I appreciate that, and I respect it. But I am ready to move on to another chapter in my life.
And the best parts in here are coming, so they're coming to the shop with us.
Yeah, but I don't think a building makes a man who he is. I know people enjoy the history of what we have done in here, but ultimately it has to be what makes us happy. And I want to be happy in our new home, in our new location, on our property, away from all the noise and the riffraff. Yeah,
happy and
exactly.
safe. Yeah.
Behind a locked gate.
Yeah.
We'll have a fence with a locked gate there.
Yeah.
But so I'm just ready to get the show on the road here and try to get the shop cleaned out and get our things moved and move on. And I'd like to put this property on the market and put it up for sale.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what we're doing. So we wanted to take the opportunity to do one more final walkthrough of the shop here and just show what's in here, maybe talk a little bit about the machines, what they might mean to me, where they came from, whatever, and capture this because I'm ready to start moving things.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to start grabbing toolboxes and things and start taking them out of here before we could get this episode in. So that's what we're here doing today.
Yes.
Yeah. So
let's talk about some machines.
okay. Yeah. Are we going to do like a walk around style? So I don't think we're going to do the split screen on this episode.
Nope, I'm just going to hold the camera and we're going to walk.
Okay. So Abby's going to do the camera, and I think this is going to be completely off the cuff. I would like to tell you a little bit about each machine that's in here and try to capture some of that history and experience that I have with them and get it on video.
Yes.
So we'll take a quick break. I need a little coffee break, and then we'll get started on it. So you're starting off at the shaper, eh?
It's my favorite one.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites too. This is an awesome machine, and it is coming to the new shop.
Yes.
I know that I have a few people that disagree with me on that, but I also have a lot of people, there's been a couple of machines that people have commented on they hope is coming to the new shop, and that is the Shaper and the Monarch lathe.
Both coming.
And we're going to talk about the Monarch in a little bit. But since you started off here at the Shaper, let me tell you a little bit about this. This has been a machine that originated from YouTube. Back in 2017, I know 17 is when we got this, so I think it was earlier in that year. I put out a feeler on the channel and mentioned that I would like to find a Shaper. I always had a desire to own and operate one of these machines because I never had the opportunity before. When I started working with Dad, so back when I was 17, 18, somewhere around that time, Dad had a Shaper in the back of the shop. I didn't know what it was at the time. I knew what it was because he said, that's a metal Shaper. I don't use it anymore. Now we use our milling machines and whatever. So it was in the back, and eventually Dad wanted to get it out of the shop and free up a little bit of that space. It was the same size as this machine here. It was a 32-inch Cincinnati Shaper. And I remember it being back there and always, kind of coming around and just looking at it and saying, man, I wish I could operate this thing. But the opportunity never came. And we tried to sell it. Dad tried to sell it for a while. And this was back, you're talking about the late 90s. Shapers were obsolete. Nobody wanted them. You couldn't hardly give them away. So we scrapped it.
Oh, that makes me so sad.
Dad made me scrap it. I'm the one that actually kind of dismantled it, and I took it to the scrap yard and scrapped it myself.
Does that pain you now?
It is.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And I have, you see the sirens? That's 2 ambulances just within a couple of minutes now. I have a vision of the guy that operate the big magnet that they use to pick up the metal. He used it to pick this thing up off of my trailer and brought it around, and he kind of like swung it out and flung it over onto the scrap pile.
Oh my God, that hurts my heart.
Well, that's happened to thousands and thousands of machines because it is obsolete machinery. But this is some beautiful engineering that needs to be preserved.
Yes.
You know, these aren't machines that you're going to put into production, but they are valuable machines because they do things in a very unique and beautiful way that is handy for a lot of different work out there. So you may not be using this in your machine shop on the regular basis, but a lot of shops have these sitting in there in the corner somewhere, and maybe once a year they go back there and they do some really interesting operation on it because it helps them get that one job done.
I was gonna say because they can, and yeah.
Well, some people do because they can, but if you got a part that you need to put a keyway in, this is great for that kind of stuff. I saw Alec the other day. He had some big casted part that had to have an internal keyway put in it. And they ended up putting it up on their shaper on some angle plates, and they went in there and they just used that to cut the keyway out, you know. But there's a lot of really great things you can use the shaper for. I think more than anything, these are great machines to save for all of you home shop guys out there. You know, the guys that are trying to build up their own tool collection for their home shop, for their hobby shop, because they enjoy this kind of stuff too. These are great machines to save for that. So, you know, I hope people continue to save them and bring them home, go through them and clean them up and get them working and enjoy them. Just enjoy being out in your shop, watching them operate. You know, you don't even have to be making parts on it. You can set up a block of steel and enjoy watching it do its thing. It's a great way to learn about manual machining as well. They're just really awesome machines that go back to, you know, 1800s era engineering before the modern milling machine was invented. You used shapers and planers to do all of your basic metal cutting for, you know, parts that needed to be flat, parts that you needed to shape into a boxy shape, you know. And then milling machines came along and changed everything, and these became obsolete. But this one is going to come to the new shop. So this is one of the first things that we are going to move to the new shop. And we're going to get this out of here and get it down to the shop. We're going to get our workbench down there. The big metal table in the middle of the shop with the big flex arm on it. We're going to be taking that down there. So these are three things here that we're definitely going to be moving out pretty soon.
We got the new trailer to help us move.
Yep.
So that's exciting.
Yep. That was, all this moving is one of the reasons why I wanted air tow. The capability that trailer is going to provide with ground level loading is going to help us out tremendously with moving this stuff, but not only just machines, anything that we want to move now. It could be boxes of stuff, you know. It's just, you lower the trailer down, you load it up, and you pick it back up to the ride height. So yeah, we're really excited about getting this down there. I know that we've got a lot of folks that missed the content on this, and I want to continue making content on this machine because despite what anyone thinks or anyone believes, I absolutely love this machine. It's one of my most favorite machines that I own, and I truly enjoy operating it and watch it work too. So
I worked with you in the shop this week. And you were on the milling machine.
Yeah.
And we learned, you taught me a lot of things. You teach me something every single time I'm in the shop, but you were teaching me what the different parts were called.
Yeah, on the mill.
On the mill, yeah. Can you do that on this?
Yeah, I can do that. What?
Just for me.
Okay. You want me to call out what some of these parts are?
I do.
All right, well.
He says so many things to me, and he says them like everybody knows what they are, and I pretend like I know what they are sometimes, and I don't. So
well, when you come up in the shop and you've been doing it for almost 3 decades, you just learn.
Yes.
You learn things, and you learn things through books too. I've done a lot of reading in books. You know, we've got a good collection. So
I keep telling him just over-explain everything.
Well, we'll keep this one pretty basic. So on the shaper, this part of the machine, I hope that I don't misspeak here. This should be the column. This is the column of the mill. This is the base of the machine right here. Up on top, you have your ram. So this is the part that just reciprocates back and forth. The movement is your ram. So you have your column, your ram. I believe this part, that this is gonna be like your saddle. And see, you caught me off guard. So I might have to refer to my books to be sure, but I believe this is gonna be the saddle right here that is attached to the column of the shaper.
Do you want to look so you know?
No, we'll just keep going.
Okay.
We'll just keep going. I'm not going to get too heavy into it because we got a lot of machines to discuss.
Yeah.
But I believe this is going to be the column. I'm probably wrong, but this is going to hold your table
saddle.
on the front. Yep.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
You said column.
Oh, I meant this is a column
Yeah,
right here.
Okay.
So you got your column, saddle, table, ram, and then this right here is your tool head. We've got videos on a lot of this stuff. I took this all apart and cleaned everything up really well and put it back together. Everything works really well on this shaper. There is an issue with the transmission. So that's why I've never been able to operate it under its true capacity, because there's something that's gotten worn or loose in the transmission and it'll actually kick itself out of gear if you run it too fast. So that's why I've always run it those slower speeds, is because it'll just kick it out of gear in the middle of a stroke. So I don't have the energy to try to go through this machine. I'm one of those guys that I don't want to take all these machines completely apart and fix them and rebuild them and put them back together. I want to operate them. That's what I want to do. I fix things when I have to out of necessity, not because, oh, let's make a project out of it and take this whole apart and restore it. I love that. And I love watching guys do that, and I appreciate them for the work that they put into it. I want to just run it. So that's my goal. I just want to make chips with it. So yeah. It's going to stay like it is, and we're going to keep using it. I did want to point out, so this is a tape. This is just a flame cut 836 plate that I made as a fixture plate, but the original vise for the shaper is right there. And I'm just letting you know that we still have the original vise, and it will stay with the shaper. But this has been a really cool fixture plate. I can modify it. You can drill and tap holes to bolt things down, and it gives you a lot larger work surface on the shaper table itself. So this is a cool modification that you can make to any shaper, honestly.
We have had in the comments a lot of requests of just setting the camera up and just shaping and just letting it go. And
yeah.
And we're going to try to. I think I'll try to do that.
I'd like to do that when we get it set up in the new shop. Is just, I've got some projects in mind for it, and I know things will be coming down the pipeline. So we're going to have work for the shaper, and I know the people that are patiently waiting to see it, they're going to have that content to be able to enjoy. Definitely, but definitely one of my most favorite machines that we own.
I did ask him what his favorite thing was in here, and you said the shaper.
I did. Yeah, I did. The shaper. I don't remember the exact year that it was built. I did have Keith Rucker look it up for me several years ago, back when I was working on it. The serial number, I believe it's up here somewhere, but I give Keith the serial number, and he looked it up, and I believe this was built in the early 50s, I believe, was when this one was built. So this is a 50s era machine here.
Well, she's a beauty.
Yep. And still working good, still making chips, and she does a beautiful job making them too.
I'm excited about getting this one over there.
Yeah.
I think I've said that at least 25 times.
Yeah.
But I really am. It's kind of mesmerizing, the sound of this.
Yeah, it is. I absolutely love it. Let me show you something over here that I don't think I've ever talked about before. I'm gonna go ahead and move our gantry crane out of the way here. This also came from our original shop. Dad had the welding shop build this years and years ago for the bandsaw. We had a DoAll bandsaw down there that he had bought brand new, and he had the rollers, the infeed rollers behind it. And then behind the saw and the infeed rollers, there was a big rack with all the metal on it. So he had this made, and it had this chain fall on it, so he could pick up heavy material, roll it into the saw, set it down, and roll it up to the saw to do the cutoffs. So I saved this. I ended up having to cut it off. This down here, I ended up cutting them, and then I welded those braces in there, and I did that. That was on the channel too. I had to do that to get it to clear the lights in here. But I was going to show you this cabinet over here because I don't think I've ever shown this or talked about it. This is an old cabinet from the shop, and this was originally used for lathe and shaper tools from Dad's stuff. And a lot of these tools in here are original to the shop. There's been a few extras added to this over the years. So I've had a few things that people have given me, and they've gone in here. This is also one of those cabinets that I need to go through and liquidate a lot of this stuff in here. So there's a lot of tools in there, like Armstrong and Williams tool holders of all different sizes, and right and left hand, and bore and bar holders, and shaper bar holders. There's a lot of really interesting things in there. Let me see if I can get by yet. I'm sorry. I got to close this so I can get by right here. So I don't want to like take a bunch of this stuff out because it'll start sliding out of here. But now some of these I've collected over the years. This is another shaper tool. This is the same one that I use on the G&E right now. Is that guy. There's another knurling tool there. The cabinet, yeah,
so cool.
The cabinet is full of these old Armstrong tools. You know, this kind of stuff right here. It's just slap full of it. This is an Armstrong bore and bar holder right here. This was Dad's. I remember I cleaned that up years ago and put it back down in there. So you can see it's just full of stuff. A lot of it I really don't need anymore. So this is stuff that's probably going to be cycled through and see about selling. This drawer is hardened collets that go to our collet chuck. This is the 2J style collets, hardens, and we even have, you know, some of the square and hex collets in here. And this is where most of the extra hardened collets always stayed, in this drawer right here. I've got other ones up there on one of the tool cabinets.
Did someone make this, or was that like a purchased thing? Do you know?
I don't really know. I don't know if this is custom. I want to say that it probably was, but honestly, I have no idea. I don't know I don't know who made it.
Yeah.
It's just always been in here like that.
I wonder how heavy that cabinet is. With all the
It's
stuff in it.
it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was going to say was that I would like to keep the cabinet. It doesn't shut right anymore. You know, the latch doesn't work. But I'd like to keep the cabinet. Maybe we can paint it, make it look a little bit nicer, and scrape some of this paint.
I would love to do
and
that.
paint it. And I want to keep this cabinet for the G&E. That's what I want it for, is for the shaper tools. You can see this is all stuff that I use for the shaper right here. These big giant tool bits. We have all of our standard tool bits that we use in the shaper. So I'm going to keep this, but we're going to see about selling off some of that other tooling that I don't need in there. I believe in a previous episode we talked about putting our shop rate on the wall, didn't we?
We did. Oh, is that it?
Oh no, this is not it. This was that was the shop hour sign that we had made.
Oh, it's so good. I don't think I've ever even seen this.
We had that on the wall. I thought that was the price, but I don't know what happened to the shop labor sign. I might have left it on the wall down there and just didn't think to take it down.
All right, are we taking that to the shop, or are we taking that to the podcast room? Because I am loving it.
You can, whatever you'd like to do with this sign right here.
Okay.
But I remember having one of the local sign shops. They were just down the street. You know, Dad didn't do stuff like that. So nobody knew what our hours were. I was like, Dad, can we just put a sign outside so people actually know? Because they would come up, well, when are you open? When do you close? So anyway, that was our hour, 7 to 3:30. And I always remember working with Dad. He loved taking off at 12 on Fridays. So
I
Fridays
also
was,
like taking off at 12 on Fridays.
yeah. Close for lunch, 12 to 12:30. Saturday, Sunday, close. So that's an original sign from the shop right there. I'm glad that I saved it. It's been right here for a long time. I'm just going to put it back right there.
All right.
And we'll take that, and you can do whatever you want with it.
All right, perfect.
Let me get a swig of coffee. All right, so I guess we'll just work our way down the shop. I know we need to get to the machines there. So I'll start with the center. This is a big heavy-duty metal workbench that I built several years ago to use as a workbench in the shop. And then I modified it whenever we received our big flex arm here. You have your hydraulic power unit underneath and, of course, the flex arm on top. But we're going to be moving this down to the shop, and we're going to continue using it. I was able to build I bought the steel top, but I acquired this steel tubing. This was basically like leftover material that I was able to acquire. Big heavy duty stuff. This is a really heavy table here. So I'm excited about getting that down there. So that's our workbench / flex arm table. We've already talked about the workbench here. You can see right here, this is where I used to do all of my video editing early on. That's why it's so dark and worn in right here, which gives it a lot of great character, right?
It does.
I want to do some, this is all going to be cleaned up. We're keeping our toolboxes, and I'm probably going to build some more of these risers so that we can elevate the toolboxes and create more workbench space on top. So that's some stuff that we plan on doing. We talked about I know this is going to go against the wall in the shop where the big American flag is. And we talked about possibly putting some cabinets across the top too, like that. This is a cabinet that I acquired back when I was 18 for free. And it's always held all of my cleaners and lubricants and oils and stuff like that. But we're going to use this for better tool storage. A lot of this stuff is going to be gone through. I'm probably going to sell some of the tooling. So I'll show you this stuff right here. That one's empty. Those are some Fireball tool cast iron fixture plates that I got those from Jason years ago, and I was going to machine them, like 10 of them. That's what I got is 10. I'd still like to machine those.
Heck yeah.
So one of these days we're going to machine those 10 and we're going to put them on the website and sell them. This right here, this is some of that stuff that I'm probably going to sell. This is all reamers right here. Now some of these big ones on top, those were given to me, but all the ones underneath that are the ones that come from the shop there. So taper shank, these are all taper shank reamers here. And then this one over here, this box, are your square shank reamers and also shell reamers. All good stuff, but really kind of obsolete tooling that a modern shop doesn't use very much anymore. It's nice to have, and sometimes you need a hole that you just need to run a reamer down there to clean it up or take a thousandths out of it. That's where this stuff really comes in handy. But it's a lot of tooling that I have used very little since we closed the main shop. So a lot of this stuff I'm probably going to end up selling this tooling here.
Did you make those?
Nope. These boxes were made by someone local. I cannot remember the gentleman's name, but he was a viewer of the channel, loved all the content, and he made those for me out of scrap material. He said that his son built those sheds, like storage buildings, and he used all drop scrap material from the storage sheds. And
I think those are so cool.
There's 3, so he built 6 of them. We got 3 more down there.
We're definitely keeping those.
Yeah, so we're going to keep these and use them probably just like you see here once we move everything down. So this is going to be some good storage items. And then I just put them on those little moving dollies from Harbor Freight so that they would roll. I've got, this is all That's straps, lifting equipment. This is my surplus cutting and welding equipment there. Original stuff from the shop. So that's where I keep my torches, welding tips. Metallizing powders. That's all metallizing powders that are in there for both the Udalloy and the Rototech. You know, just stuff. There's more metallizing powders in that box right there. This is all materials, you know, so some of this we'll keep, some of it I'll probably scrap. And then these boxes here, I think, are more surplus tools. Just surplus tools. Look at this box right here. Somebody give me those. Those are scraping tools right there. Scraping Babbitt, I believe.
It's really cool.
Some of this stuff I'll keep. That's an original clamp right there, Armstrong clamp. These are really, really cool. So I got two of these. They're both in this box here. These are the handles for the Greenfield number 22 tap wrench, which is hanging up right there. So I just unscrew these. That's where these have been. It's in this box right here. So again, a lot of surplus that need to be cleaned out. More surplus tooling. There's a bunch of tap wrenches in there, old live centers, dead centers, drill chucks that have seen better days. This is all stuff that's got to go. We'll be keeping all of our toolboxes. I think we had talked about these before,
yes.
I believe in another episode. Yeah, this is a nice old handmade, you know, shop-made toolbox that goes way, way back, and we'll keep that. So we're going to keep all of our toolboxes and keep using them.
And all the charts.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, I'm not getting rid of any of my charts. Those are collectibles, and I've spent years and years collecting those things. This one is original from our shop right here. This was on the wall down there. Oliver Van Horn Company. They were out of Mobile. I like this because it's a National Twist Drill branded decimal chart. So next up, we'll talk about the DoAll mill. I've been going back and forth on keeping versus selling this mill. I'm definitely going to be keeping it until I just get to the point where I feel like maybe I don't need it anymore. And I know that makes some people sad to even hear me say that, but honestly, I love using my KBC mill. It's a more modern mill. It's bigger, 40 taper spindle, and this would definitely just be a secondary mill, and that's why we're most likely going to keep it. So I have an idea on taking it down to the shop and having the shaper and the DoAll mill kind of next to each other in a certain area. It needs a good cleanup, but it is it's looking dirty and grungy now, but this is a really, really good milling machine that probably saw more hours on YouTube than it saw before it was ever on YouTube. My dad bought this mill brand spanking new. I believe it was in 1987. So the story that I recall him telling me was that he bought the DoAll saw, and the saw he bought in 86. The next year, he decided to buy this DoAll milling machine. And he used it very little. We used it very little whenever I worked with him full time. We had the DoAll right here, and then sort of in this spot next to it is where our big Acra milling machine was. And the Acra mill is what did, I'd say 95% of the milling work that we did. And the DoAll was always set up, and we would drill holes in it, you know, occasionally do a little bit of milling in it, but the Acra saw all the work. So it was used very little, and it's honestly in really good condition. The ways are in really good condition. They're not gouged up. There's not a bunch of wear on it. It's just dirty. The thing that Dad did with it that I don't like is that he wanted everything to be painted. So he had, at the time when Junior was working with us, we went through a really slow period where we didn't really have much work to do. So we all went through the shop cleaning everything up, and we did a bunch of painting. Like everything got painted, including the Victor, which we'll get to. So he had us paint the Victor and the milling machine. I didn't paint it because I hate painting. I remember juniors want to paint it, but you can see the original green back here. That's the original color.
I love the green.
And then the grayish color, he wanted it painted. So that's why it is the color that it is. I've never liked it, but I'm not going to go through the effort of repainting it green again because I just don't want to. But so, you know, that originated in '87, and it just saw very little use. Again, it's in good condition. It's always been a nice, quiet mill. That was one of the things that people commented on early on. Let me see, is the power on? I think it is. People used to comment about how quiet this mill was. It's just a nice, quiet milling machine. The brake makes a weird racket sometimes, but that's the only issue I've ever seen with this mill here. I added the DoAll DRO to it after I had moved it down here to the shop. A DRO is definitely a very important tool that at least every mill should probably be equipped with, because if you don't have that, you're hand counting these dials on this thing, which is what I had to do for several years before we ever got our first digital readout. We actually put that on our Acra mill. We installed a digital readout on it, and that made a world of difference. But I don't know. I think that's about all I have to say about the DoAll itself. This was a shelf that we had built years and years ago, and it was sort of behind the mill, just like you see now, but there was a bigger space behind it. And I brought it down here, and I've just got more of our tooling stored on here. So I don't know where we're going to have place to put this in the shop, but I definitely like to keep it. I just don't know yet if it's feasible to keep it, but I'm going to go through here and get things cleaned up. Part of this move and cleaning the shop out is organization too. So a lot of the good, useful tools that we own, I don't want to get rid of all that stuff. I don't want to sell everything, but I want it reorganized in a better manner. So maybe in toolboxes and tool cabinets, and less out in the open like this on the wall here.
Your dad wasn't super organized with things?
No, he wasn't. No, he unfortunately, Dad just wasn't one of those guys that spent a lot of time and effort organizing things.
Did he know where everything was?
Yeah, he knew where things were, but he wasn't organized about it. So everything was in piles, just throw all this stuff somewhere. And that's where I talked about before, whenever he brought me on and I started working with him, he wanted me to go through and start doing some of that. So that's how I learned about a lot of the things that I know about in the shop, is that I discovered things. By going through and cleaning stuff up, I would find things and I would learn what it is because I've never seen it before. But Dad wasn't a big organizer. He just made do with what he had, and he would just pile all of his tools up over here somewhere, and this is where they were, and this is where he knew that they were. So I have tried to keep the shop somewhat organized and clean, even though this is dirty to me. I haven't done a good job over the last few years of keeping it clean. You can see chips everywhere from all the jobs that we've done over the last several years. I just kind of let it go. So I got to get this place cleaned up. We're going to have to sweep the floor before we start moving these machines out of here. But I've tried to keep things in a better organized manner, better than my dad did anyway, because I like organization. And that's one of the things I love about our new shop space, is that I've tried to build it out, and we've invested in a lot of toolboxes because I want things to be in a drawer, in a toolbox properly, where when like these angle plates and stuff, those need to be in a drawer. So, okay, we need to set up an angle plate. We come over here and it's in this drawer. That's kind of how I want my things to be. And that's how every business it is. You know, you're supposed to be organized. So we're going to work on that and try to get everything set up in a better organized manner than what I necessarily have. What you see down here is just a progression of, okay, these are all the things that you're going to take and you're going to go set up, and I would move them down here, and I just set them up with however it made sense to do it. I just kind of built this shop up however it made sense at the time. Like over here, if we move over here to this side, this shelf I ended up building where you see it, you know, that shelf was already there. So I had a piece of angle iron that I bolted to the side of the shelf. I had some 2x4s right here that I stood up, and I had this board, and I built me a shelf, and these are all the lathe tools, you know, the tool holders for the multi-fix. And before that, they were all stacked up on this messy cart right here.
I want that cart.
Yeah, well, you can have it. You can. We need to clean it up, but this shows the messy side of me that I'm not necessarily proud of, you know. So I would try to hide some of the stuff in the videos over the years, but it is what it is, and many shops are like this, you know. But it definitely needs a good cleaning. This is original from the shop, and I cleaned all this up. This is another one of those things that I did years ago, back when we were slow. Dad just had tools thrown in all these bins. They weren't in any kind of order. And if you'll notice, you know, all the writing on these bins, I did that. I went through every one of these bins, emptied them out, and separated everything and put them together as they needed to be by type of tool, and put them in their own bin and marked it. So that when you needed that specific tool, you could at least go to that bin and just have one bin to dig through looking for a certain cutter. You know, and I want to keep this. I don't know where it's going to go, so we're going to have to figure that out.
Yep.
But there's a lot of history.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of milling cutters here, lathe tool bits. I tried to separate the most common tools. So on the top, you know, is our end mills. So small end mills, all the way up to 1 inch, and I got 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 here. Long end mills, odd size end mills, the kind of, you know, size end mills that you rarely use, like a 13/16 or 1 1/16. Roughing end mills, ball end mills. There's T-slot cutters. We don't have a lot of those, but T-slot cutters, Woodruff key seat cutters, 2 of them. Dovetail cutters. There's some of those pretty boxes.
Yes, I've been noticing that. I don't know why I didn't look through this before.
These are some of the, look at that,
yeah.
look at that, brown and sharp.
Oof.
See?
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff you have to save.
Yes.
Because you'll never see packaging that beautiful ever printed again, because
No.
it's too expensive. People
Yep.
aren't going to spend money to box up their tools that look like that. There's another one. There's the dovetail cutter. Probably never been used.
Gorgeous.
Yep. These were Dad's right here. Both of these. Yep. So anyway, what I was getting at was that I did all this trying to separate these tools. Get this so that you can see it a little bit better. Corner rounding end mills. Angle mills. And then down there we've got bins just slap full of drill bits. You know, those are all just drills that I found around the shop that I just put them all together at least, you know. Lots of high-speed steel tool bits, pipe taps, carbide inserts that probably I won't use anymore. You know, that stuff that Dad had collected over the years.
There's some cool boxes in there too.
Milling, these are milling inserts, and then lathe tool bits. Metric tap, look at this big metric tap. I remember, that's an M40. Dad bought this from MSC. We needed it for a job. I think we used it for one job, and that's all it was ever used for. There's my metric end mills. I don't have a lot of them, and every time I need one, I'm like, where are those metric end mills at? That's where they are. I always forget that they're in that bin right there. I was looking for a 14 millimeter the other day. I'll have to see if it's in there. So yeah, there's this right here. I don't know what we're going to do with this yet, because I thought about, well, maybe I should just sell it. But really, that kind of makes me sad to think of selling this right here.
Yeah.
I don't think Abby's going to allow that to happen.
No.
But I've got clamping hardware up here. This is a shelf that my Uncle Kenneth, he did woodworking also, the same stuff that Mom and Dad did. And years ago when I was doing that cleanup, I was always cleaning up. These are all the 5/8 studs that Dad always used, really high quality. These are hard too, like hardened steel, heat treated. 5/8 studs are used in a milling machine. They were all piled up in a metal bin, right? I asked my Uncle Kenneth, I was like, will you help me make a shelf that I can hang on the wall to put all these in? And he did. So me and him built that, and that organized the 5/8 studs and the strap clamps. And I brought
love how oily it looks too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to that a lot. So I had, where this was on the wall a little bit lower. There was a table here, and I had these metal bins there that had all the other studs and the flange nuts and the T-nuts in there. And that's where I had kept everything for both the milling machines, but also the horizontal mill, because it had a big table on it. And I tried to keep all that together. So this was an effort from my early days of storage around the shop.
We're keeping that.
Okay, we'll keep it. You see what I use it for. It's
Yeah,
just
I
going to
love
stay
it.
just like that.
Yeah, as it should. Oh, the Victor.
Yeah, so we got the Victor lathe here. This was one of the machines that Dad gave me to bring down here and set up and keep using. He gave me 2 lathes to keep, the Victor and the Monarch. We'll talk about both of them. Both been great characters on the channel over the years, the YouTube channel. People seem to really love these machines, and
so do you.
yeah, I mean they mean a lot to me. These are the machines that I learned how to do machine work on, all the stuff that you see. So the Victor is a 1660, and anybody that doesn't know what that means, that's how a lathe is sized. So 1660. So the first 2 numbers is the swing diameter. So this will swing 16 inches, and the 60 inch is the center to center distance. So technically you can hold a piece of material that's 60 inches long between centers on the lathe. This is a good all-around size for anybody that wants a lathe, whether it be for your business or your home shop. A 1660 is a really good size. I would also say that a 1440 is a good size to have as well. It'll handle most of what people are trying to do with lathe. You know, just modern, just your typical everyday work. This size lathe will handle that. So if you're looking for a lathe, or you say that you want a lathe, look for something around that size, something around the 16-inch swing. I'd say 14 to 16 inch, and a 60-inch bed is going to allow you to have a lot of capacity in here. You know, if you can afford to have a machine that size in your shop. So this particular lathe, I don't know the exact year that it was made, but I do know that it was it's late 70s, so it could be around 79 or 80. And Dad said that he actually bought this from the bank as a repossession. So it was a used lathe when Dad got it, and the story that he told me was that his bank at the time, I don't know what bank that was, had notified him that they had repossessed a fairly new lathe and asked him if he would be interested in buying it. So he went and looked at it. I don't even know where it was at, but he said he went and looked at it. And I think he said he offered him $5,000 for it, and they accepted it. And so that's where the Victor lathe came from. This has been a really good machine, and it still is a really good machine. It's a Taiwan-made machine. I know that Victor is still in business, although you really don't see him out there anywhere. You don't hear him, you don't see him online or anything, but they are still in business. But this is a really good quality, and it's an industrial quality machine. It's all heavy casted. This is a one-piece bed design. So this chip pan down here and the bed, this is all one solid piece of casting with, the bed was, hardened and ground. The headstock is bolted down to the top of this. And of course you have your quick change gearbox all bolted in right here too. But this generation of Victor lathe, I think, is a very good quality machine. So if you're out there in the market looking for used lathes, or when you're, whenever you're looking around, keep this one in mind, because I would highly recommend it. It's just a really good, well-built lathe. And this has done a lot of work for our shop. So it was in the early 80s is when Dad acquired this, when he bought it from the bank. And it's been doing machine work for the shop ever since then. I learned how to operate it the very first, as soon as I started working with Dad. I've used it ever since. And it's been a good lathe. So right behind me this is Dad's toolbox. You got the Utica Bonnie roller chest. This mid box here is a wooden chest that was built out of NAS Pensacola by the carpenter shop. And it's got reamers and spring calipers and counterboring tools all in here. This is a Kennedy toolbox that's on the top, and this has just always been Dad's toolbox. Underneath, there's all kind of expanding mandrels, all different sizes, and shop-made mandrels down there too. Really, really good stuff to have around the shop. That's the steady rest off of the Victor lathe right there. So speaking of, we were talking about paint. Dad had this lathe painted too. Me and Junior painted it. You can still see the green on there, and especially on the steady rest, because we never painted the steady rest.
Oh, I love that green.
So yeah, that was the original color. But anyway, that's Dad's toolbox. And then this is a Jebco. This is one that I bought at an estate sale years ago for $50.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, try to find it for $50. It's really hard. And I've got it full of surplus tooling. I mean, I've got it full of some of my stuff. So some of my late model tooling that I've acquired, my Tungaloy stuff is like right here. And my extra turning tools are here. But this toolbox, let's just go through here. See, I've got my Micro 100 bars here, Micro 100 carbide tool bits. I've got extra end mills in here. So these top two drawers I've gone to quite a bit. This is carbide inserts. A lot of this stuff is carbide inserts that I just accumulated over the years. Some of the stuff was given to me. But anyway, that's where all that went. We've got the Recoil brand coil sets in here. These are roughing end mills. Just some various end mills. This is one that we used a lot of over the years right here, and really just kind of wore it out. That was a good mill right there. That's a belt lacing tool right there, clipper.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, leather belts, when you got to put the belts together for like line shaft machines, you use one of those belt lacers. We're getting into some of the broaches, the push broaches. We got some square broaches. I've got a couple of hex broaches, I believe. More surplus tooling there. Some of that stuff was given to me. More broaches right there. There's some parts back here. I don't remember what that stuff is. These are broach plugs or bushings. I think that's about as far as I'm probably going to go. There's some of the old files. I put them all in that drawer there. And as you go further down, we have, I believe, drill bits. Those are some extra drill bits. Some of them are new, a lot of them are used. And then underneath that, I think is just junk. There's Morse taper sleeves. Those were some extras. And then it's really just junk down there. And more Kennedy toolboxes up there. These really don't get used much. But anyway, I was really proud to get this at an estate sale.
We're keeping that.
Yeah, you see how well it works. So maybe we'll move over to the Monarch next. What do you think?
Yay, Monarch.
All right, let's go talk about that.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching part 1 of 2 of the Booth Machine Shop tour. Thanks for doing that.
Very welcome. I enjoyed it.
You did? Because I
Yeah,
did.
I enjoyed sharing it.
So next week we will continue with part 2, and it's going to be the Monarch, the K&T, and the whole rest of the other section of the shop. So we hope you enjoyed this one. We hope you come back for the second one.
Yep, absolutely. Hope to see you then. We had a couple hours in the shop there, so this would have been a pretty long episode to put it into one video, so we
That's right.
decided to split it up into 2-parter. So we hope you enjoyed part 1, and we hope to see you come back for part 2.